The snowstorm hit the mountain colony harder than anyone had predicted. Evan Corrin pressed his face against the frost-covered window of the research station, watching white chaos consume the world outside. At 17, he was the youngest member of humanity's Outer Reach program, stationed on Glacius 7, to study the planet's extreme climate patterns. The older scientists had always treated him like a child, assigning him menial tasks while they conducted the real research. Tonight, he was alone. The senior team had taken the transport shuttle to the main base, leaving Evan to monitor equipment during the storm. He didn't mind the solitude. It gave him time to think, to dream about the day he'd make a discovery that would prove his worth. A scratching sound interrupted his thoughts. Evan frowned, tilting his head. The wind howled outside. But this was different. Rhythmic. Deliberate. Scratch. 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 It came from the airlock door. Probably debris, he muttered. But curiosity drove him to check the external cameras. The screen flickered, and through the swirling snow, he saw something impossible. A creature, no larger than a house cat, huddled against the door. Its scales shimmered with an ethereal blue-white glow, and two tiny wings pressed against its trembling body. Evan's breath caught. Dragons. The survey team had found skeletal remains years ago, but everyone assumed they were extinct. Yet here one was, a baby by the looks of it, scraping frantically at the reinforced door. Every protocol screamed at him to leave it outside. Unknown xenofauna. Potential contamination. Possible danger. But those golden eyes stared directly into the camera with an intelligence that froze him in place. The creature opened its small mouth, and though no sound penetrated the walls, Evan could see it forming a single, desperate plea. He was moving before conscious thought caught up. His fingers flew across the airlock controls, overriding the lockdown protocols. The outer door hissed open, and a blast of frigid air carried the tiny dragon inside. Evan slammed the controls, sealing them both in the decontamination chamber. The creature collapsed on the metal floor, its breathing shallow and rapid. Ice crystals clung to its scales, and one wing bent at an unnatural angle. Evan knelt beside it, hands hovering uncertainly. The dragon, Sira, he would later learn to call her, lifted her head and made a sound between a chirp and a whimper. "Okay, okay," Evan whispered, carefully scooping her into his arms. She was surprisingly light, her body radiating a cold that should have hurt but instead felt oddly soothing. He carried her to the medical bay, his mind racing through xenobiology protocols he'd studied but never applied. Over the next 3 hours, Evan worked with steady hands and a pounding heart. He fashioned a warming nest from thermal blankets, calibrated to match her body temperature rather than a human's. He used the diagnostic scanner to examine her wing, relieved to find it merely sprained, not broken. When Sira's eyes began to dim, he synthesized a nutrient solution based on the chemical composition of the ancient dragon bones in the database. Praying his calculations were correct, she drank. Her eyes brightened, and when she looked at him again, Evan felt something shift in the universe. Days blurred together. The storm raged outside while inside, an unlikely bond formed. Sira grew stronger, though she never attempted to leave Evan's side. She communicated through chirps, trills, and an astonishing range of expressions that proved more eloquent than words. Evan talked to her constantly, explaining his research, his loneliness, his dreams of proving himself. What he didn't expect was how quickly she grew. By the 4th day, Sira had doubled in size. By the 7th, she was as large as a wolf. Her scales had deepened to a brilliant sapphire, and when she stretched her wings, they spanned half the research station's common room. The senior team would return in 3 days. Panic clawed at Evan's chest. How would he explain this? They'd take her away, lock her in a lab, reduce her to tissue samples and data points. He'd seen how they operated, clinical, detached, viewing everything as mere specimens to study. On the 8th night, Sira did something that changed everything. Evan sat at his desk, head in his hands. Trying to solve an impossible problem, he felt her presence behind him, then a sensation like cool water flowing through his mind. Images bloomed in his consciousness, not his own memories, but hers. He saw Glacius 7 as it had been millennia ago, lush and warm, teeming with dragons who sang to the stars. He witnessed the climate catastrophe that froze the world, the desperate attempts to survive, the slow extinction of her kind. He felt her loneliness, trapped in cryogenic sleep beneath the ice, awakened by seismic activity from the human drilling operations. And he understood. Syrah hadn't just been seeking shelter from the storm. She'd been seeking something her species had lost, long ago: connection. The dragons had been empaths, creatures who thrived on bonds with other intelligent beings. Isolation had killed them as surely as the cold. Tears streamed down Evan's face. "I won't let them take you," he promised. Syrah's response filled his mind with warmth and something that felt like hope. She moved to the window, gazing at the stars now visible through breaking clouds. Then she turned back to him, and Evan gasped as understanding crystallized. She could survive in the cold now. She was strong enough, but she wasn't leaving. Not unless he came with her. The choice was impossible. Stay. Maintain his position. Eventually face the consequences of harboring an unauthorized life form. Or leave everything behind. Trust this creature he'd known for barely a week, and step into an unknown future. Evan looked at Syrah, at this magnificent being who had chosen him, a boy nobody took seriously, as worthy of her trust. He thought of the senior scientists, of protocols and procedures, of a life lived in the shadows of others' achievements. Then he smiled. "All right," he said, pulling on his thermal suit. "Let's see what happens after." Syrah's joy exploded through their mental link as she lowered her shoulder. Evan climbed onto her back, his hands finding purchase in the ridges of her scales. The airlock opened to a crystalline night, and with a powerful thrust of her wings, they launched into the frigid sky. Below, the research station grew smaller. Above, the stars beckoned. And between a human boy and a frigid dragon, a bond formed that would reshape humanity's understanding of connection, courage, and the infinite possibilities that exist when we choose compassion over caution. The scientists would return to find only a note. "Gone to make history. Thanks for teaching me that some discoveries can't be made in a lab. Evan." And in the frozen skies of Glacius 7, a new legend began.